Welcome to another episode of the Part 145 EASA training series from Phoenix Way Academy. Hello, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Sam. Well, in this deep dive, we're going to cover two main topics: 145.A.90 NEAL, Continued Validity, and 145.A.95 Findings and Observations.
You know, this is, I think, one of the most critical discussions we can have. We all focus so much energy on getting the approval, passing that first big audit.
Right, the initial hurdle.
Exactly. But getting the certificate is really just the starting line. Keeping it, that's the real marathon.
That is a perfect way to put it. We're shifting from acquisition to maintenance. And not just aircraft maintenance, but maintaining the legal status of the entire organization.
So today is all about the rules for staying in business and what ES expects when things inevitably go wrong.
Precisely, and things will go wrong. The difference between a safe organization and a dangerous one is how they handle those errors.
Okay, so a quick heads up for everyone listening. We are going to be reading parts of the regulation verbatim. When we get to a reference number like 145.A.90, we'll slow it down just a bit.
Absolutely. Precision matters. So let's begin with the very foundation of your existence as an approved maintenance organization. This is 145.A.90, Continued Validity.
I'll read the first part. This is really answering the question, is my license to operate actually valid right now? This is 145.A.90 or A1.
Okay.
The organization certificate shall remain valid, subject to compliance with all of the following conditions. 1. The organization remaining in compliance with regulation EU 28E1139 and its delegated and implementing acts, taking into account the provisions of Point 145.B.350 of this annex related to the handling of findings.
Okay, so that phrase in there, subject to compliance, that does a lot of the heavy lifting,
It feels very conditional, almost like a subscription you have to keep renewing.
That's it, exactly. A Part 145 certificate isn't like a degree you hang on the wall forever. It's a living status. It's linked to your current behavior. The second you stop complying, the validity just evaporates.
And it specifically points to 145.B.350, which is all about handling findings. So you could be doing perfect maintenance today, but an old, ignored finding from 6 months ago could invalidate you.
That's the trap. Let's imagine an MRO, we'll call them Apex Aviation. They've got the frame certificate in the lobby. But 3 months ago, an auditor found an issue with their shelf life control on some adhesives. A finding was raised.
Right, and the quality manager is swamped, he puts it on the pile, and the deadline just slides by.
At that exact moment, they're in breach. Their certificate's validity is compromised because they haven't handled that finding. The regulatory foundation is, well, it's crumbling.
So compliance is continuous, not just a snapshot during an audit. Okay, what's the second condition?
It's about visibility. This is 145.A.90 A2.
The competent authority being granted access to the organization as specified in Point 145.A.140.
This is the open door policy. The authorities work on a trust but verify model. If they can't get in to verify, the trust is gone. And so is your validity.
It sounds so simple, just let them in. But I can imagine things getting complicated.
They do. Picture this.
Yeah.
It's 2 in the morning, a night shift is running, an inspector decides to do a spot check. He shows up at the gate.
And the gate's run by a third-party security firm, strict orders, no badge, no entry.
Exactly. The guard stops him. The inspector shows his credentials, but the guard says, "Sorry, you're not on my list." The inspector is stuck outside for an hour while they try to wake up a manager.
Oh, that's a huge problem.
It's a denial of access. Even if it's accidental, because of poor procedures, you're risking your certificate. That inspector needs a VIP pass 24/7.
That's a very clear takeaway. Brief your security team. Okay, the third condition is about the legal status of the certificate itself, 145.A.90 A3.
Right.
The certificate not being surrendered by the organization or suspended or revoked by the competent authority under Point 145.B.355.
So this lays out the 3 ways a certificate can die. Suspension is a temporary pause, a warning shot. Revocation is, the death penalty.
And surrender is voluntary. But why would anyone surrender such a valuable approval?
Business strategy. Maybe a company decides to pivot away from maintenance into manufacturing. So they write to the authority and say, "We're closing the Part 145 side of the house." That's a surrender.
And the moment that's done, validity is gone.
Instantly. And that leads directly to the final administrative step, which is in 145.A.90b.
Upon surrender or revocation, the certificate shall be returned to the competent authority without delay.
This is purely about preventing fraud. You don't want a revoked organization keeping that official-looking document on their wall to fool new customers.
So if our Apex Aviation gets revoked, the quality manager has to mail it back.
Physically put it in an envelope and send it back. No delays. It prevents what I call the zombie certificate, a dead organization pretending it's still alive.
I like that. So to sum up, a .90, it's like a three-legged stool, isn't it?
That's a perfect summary. You have compliance
Access.
and a valid status.
Mm-hmm.
You kick any one of those legs out, and the whole thing falls over.
But staying compliant means dealing with problems. Which brings us to our next major topic. 145.A.95, findings and observations.
This is where the rubber really meets the road. It's not about just patching holes. It's about the science of figuring out why the holes appeared in the first place.
I'll start with the requirement for what happens after you get a finding. This is 145.A.95A1.
Go ahead.
After the receipt of a notification of findings in accordance with point 145B350, the organization shall 1. Identify the root cause of and contributing factor to the noncompliance.
There it is, root cause analysis. The regulation is forcing us to look past the symptom and find the actual disease.
And it specifically mentions contributing factors. That feels important.
It's where all the nuance is. Let's say a technician forgets to install a bonding wire on a valve. The finding is improper installation.
The easy answer is to blame the technician. He forgot. Retrain him.
That's the lazy reaction. But the reg demands more. Why did you forget? Maybe the illustration in the manual was ambiguous. That's a technical root cause. But what were the contributing factors?
Was the lighting in the hangar poor? Was he interrupted multiple times? Was he tired?
Exactly. If you just blame the technician but don't fix the bad manual or the poor lighting, the next person's going to make the same mistake. You haven't solved anything.
So once you understand the why, you need a plan. That's 145.A.95A2.
Mm-hmm.
The organization shall define a corrective action plan.
And define means it needs to be a formal, written-down roadmap, not just a promise.
And a plan isn't enough. You have to actually do it, which is 145.A.95A3.
Right.
The organization shall demonstrate the implementation of corrective action to the satisfaction of the competent authority.
Demonstrate is the key word there. The authority needs evidence, proof.
So for our forgotten bonding wire, you'd send a copy of the new work card showing it's installed?
Yeah. And maybe a photo of the new lighting you installed and a copy of the email you sent to get the manual updated. You're building a case to prove you're compliant again.
And you can't take forever to do it. 145.A.95B brings in the deadline.
It sets the clock, yes.
The actions referred to in point A shall be performed within the period agreed with that competent authority in accordance with point 145.B350.
These deadlines are not suggestions. If the authority gives you 3 months, you have 3 months, not a day more.
And if you miss it,
then you loop right back to the start of our deep dive. You're no longer handling findings correctly, which means you're not compliant, which means your certificate's validity under 145.A.90 is at risk. It's a closed loop.
it all connects. Okay, but not every comment from an auditor is a finding, right? Sometimes they're just observations.
Exactly, and that's covered in 145.A.95.
The observations received in accordance with point 145B350 shall be given due consideration by the organization. The organization shall record the decisions taken in respect of those observations.
The key phrase there is due consideration. An observation is the auditor saying, this isn't a non-compliance, but it makes me nervous.
So does due consideration mean I have to do what they say?
No, and that's a critical point. You have the right to analyze it and disagree.
For example,
Let's say an auditor raises an observation that your tool storage area looks a bit messy. It's not a violation, but he doesn't like it.
okay.
You could analyze that. You could decide, he's right, we'll implement a weekly cleaning schedule. Or you could analyze it and decide, it looks messy, but our tool control system is robust and it has no impact on safety. No action is needed.
So you can choose to do nothing.
Yes, as long as you record that decision.
Yeah.
You write down your analysis and your conclusion. The one thing you can't do is just ignore it. You have to show you thought about it.
Analyze and record. Got it. Now, the regulation tells us what to do, but the AMC and GM material tells us how.
This is where we get the practical how-to advice. Let's start with AMC 145.A95, which is about the Corrective Action Plan.
Okay, I'll read a bit of it. It says the plan should include the correction of the issue, corrective actions, and preventive actions, and that it should be submitted to the competent authority for acceptance before it is effectively implemented.
Right, this gives us the holy trinity of fixing things: correction, corrective action, and preventive action. People mix these up all the time.
I think I have a good analogy for this: an oil spill on the hangar floor.
Perfect. Walk me through it.
Okay, so there's oil on the floor. First, I grab a mop and clean it up. That's
Correction. You fix the immediate hazard.
rough.
But if you stop there, you'll have more oil on the floor tomorrow.
Right. So next, I find the equipment that's leaking and I replace the faulty seal. That would be.
Corrective action. You fix the direct cause of the problem. Much better.
But the AMC asks for more. It wants preventive action. So I have to ask, why did the seal fail? It turns out it was old and we had no inspection schedule for it, so I add a 6-month seal inspection to the maintenance program.
And that is preventive action. You've changed the system to stop it from happening again, anywhere. That's the gold standard.
And the AMC says you submit this whole plan before you do the work?
Yes, get the plan approved first. It saves you from doing a lot of work that the authority might just reject later.
That makes sense. Next up is AMC 145.A.95 on handling observations.
This just reinforces what we already talked about. I'll read a bit. The organization should record the analysis and the outputs, such as the actions taken or the reasons for not taking actions.
So it explicitly gives you permission to say no as long as you can justify it.
Exactly. It empowers you. It trusts your judgment, but it demands you show your work.
Okay, finally, let's look at the philosophy behind all of this. This is GM1 145.A.95 root cause analysis.
This is, I think, my favorite piece of guidance material. It's about changing the entire culture.
I'll read the first part. It is important that the analysis does not primarily focus on establishing who or what caused the non-compliance, but on why it was caused.
Why? Not who. If you take only one thing away from this deep dive, that should be it. Blaming a person is a dead end.
The GM goes on to warn against quick fixes and simple linear models like a fault tree.
Because aviation isn't simple or linear. It's a complex web. A quick fix, like just retraining a mechanic, only addresses the symptom.
So let's go back to our mechanic who forgot the bonding wire. A bad linear analysis would be...
Mechanic was careless. Fire the mechanic. That's the quick fix.
But the GM demands a systemic analysis.
Exactly. We ask why. Why did he forget? Because he was fatigued. That's a human factor. Why was he fatigued? Because the roster didn't allow for adequate rest. That's an organizational factor.
And why was the roster bad?
Maybe because there's a staff shortage. That's a systemic factor. So the real solution isn't about the mechanic at all. It's about changing the rostering system or hiring more people.
Wow. That's a much deeper level of analysis.
It is. And the GM also suggests a peer review of your analysis. Get a fresh pair of eyes on it to keep you honest, to make sure you're not just stopping at the easy, cheap answer.
It shows that real compliance isn't just about ticking boxes on a form. It's about deep organizational self-awareness.
And that brings us full circle. By doing that deep, honest analysis under 145.A.95, you ensure you remain truly compliant. And that protects your validity under 145.A.90.
It turns the regulation from just a rule book into a genuine safety system. It protects the certificate, sure, but really it protects the flying public.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
In the next episode, we will cover 145.A.120 VEER means of compliance and 145.A.140 access.
Follow us on social media under the name Phoenix Way Academy.
Thanks for listening, stay safe, and stay informed.